So today I am in the kitchen making jam, and I figured I would take y'all along and kind of explain how I do this. If you have new bushes that are just starting to bruise, this is a great way to save your berries so that you have enough to make jam eventually. So what I do is every time I get a handful of berries off of our bushes when they just start producing and fruiting, is I toss them into a Ziploc bag and put them into the freezer. That way I'm not wasting those berries as we wait on the bushes to start producing larger amounts of fruit. This is a great way to save your berries also if you just planted your bushes and you're only getting a couple berries. Then once I get bags full enough of berries to use for jam, I'll unthaw the berries and I'll take y'all through the next steps as we make jam, and I'm gonna let my daughter come and help me. The recipe that I use is actually calls for Sure-Gel, and it will just be 5 cups of juice, 1 box of Sure-Gel, and 7 cups of sugar. I am going to use a food mill to de-seed all of my berries because my kids have texture issues and they don't like the seeds to be in their jam. But if you don't mind the texture of seeds in your jam, then you can just take your berries and go ahead and blend them up in the blender, and that would be your 5 cups of juice. If you do not have a food mill, you can also use, and I thought I had it out, you can use a mesh strainer. You'll just blend your berries into the blender and then strain it through a mesh strainer like this, and that would take out the majority of the seeds. I just thaw out my berries in the sink, and once they're nice and thawed, we'll just pour them into this food mill. And it's really simple to use if you've never used one. You just turn the handle and it gets all of the seeds out.
Hey, can you hold it?
Yep. Empty this out because it's starting to, there's not that much juice coming out of the berries now, and then we'll come back and do the blueberries and the strawberries that I have. I'm actually saving the leftover seeds and stuff, and we have a worm compost bin that I will take out and put those into the worm compost bin.
It's like red. It's like red and purple mixed
together. All right, now I'll do the strawberries and the blueberries.
Can you hold it?
Yes, ma'am. I was looking for a rag. And you definitely want to use old rags when you're making this because the berry juice stains everything. The strawberries and the blueberries go by a lot quicker because they aren't as seedy as the blackberries. All right, go to town. That's 1.5 liters. I'm looking at the quarts and the cups over here. So we have 4 cups of juice. We're trying to get to 5. We grew all these from
But some of the blackberries were wild.
Yes, some of the blackberries were wild blackberries. Some of them were from our blackberry bushes. Okay, keep going.
Actually, most of them were wild.
Yep. Almost to 5.
Almost there. Wait, for real?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we are. Let's go.
Okay, I think we're getting close. So now that I have my 5 cups of juice, I'm gonna go ahead and put water in my water bath canner and get it started on the stove. You definitely probably could have done this before you started straining your fruit juice, and it would have made the process go a lot faster, but we're doing things a little bit backwards today. So go ahead and fill your pot with water, and we're gonna get it boiling, and then we're gonna come back and sanitize our jars. I washed all of my jars off earlier. My grandma is 94 years old and she no longer cans, and every time I go over to her house, she is sending me home with a box of jars. So all of my jelly jars are different shapes and sizes, but we are using what we have. Every time I can on TikTok, people ask me how in the world I got so many jars, and I'm lucky that my grandma has given them to me or I have purchased them. But estate sales, thrift stores, there's all kind of ways to get jars. Ollie's is a discount store, and they often have jars for like $8.99 for the big packs. That's a great place to go looking for jars. So you just have to start hunting and looking for the sales so that you're not paying the $15+ for a pack of jars. Okay, now that I got my stock pot or water bath canner full of water, we're just going to put it on the stove and turn it on high heat until it comes to a boil. So once my water started boiling, I just stuck all of my jars in here for 5 minutes so that they're nice and sanitized, and then I'm just going to set them over here, and then we'll get to making our jam. I do not sanitize the lids because that is no longer a suggestion. It actually suggests on the back to no longer sanitize them, but I do sanitize the jars and the rings. I actually don't normally use these little jelly jars, but like I said, my grandmother gave them to me. I normally just use pint and quart size jars, and then I usually put jelly in the pints. We're a family of technically 6, but 5 still live at home. So we're a family of 5, and we'd go through one of these jars of jelly probably in one meal. So, like I said, I normally would just do a pint. But since my grandmother gave them to me and since I have them, we're going to use them. And they're just so cute.
Are you almost putting the stuff in?
I was looking for the magnet to get all my rings out.
The magnet's over here.
I got it. It's right here. I have 2 of them. So now that our jars are all sanitized, we're going to start making jam. I add like a half of a tablespoon of butter into my pot just to cut down on the amount of foam that tends to form at the top, but you do not have to add butter if you don't want to, and you can just skim the foam off the top. The butter just cuts down on the amount of foam. Once you have your butter in your pot, you're going to add your 5 cups of fruit juice because we're doing the mixed fruit jam. And like I said, if you just want to use fruit puree to make your jam, that's fine too, but we de-seeded ours, so it is juice, or as many seeds as we could get out. To get your juice poured in your pan, you're going to add in your pectin or Sure-Gel. Go ahead and add the Sure-Gel in.
Oyster, yeah, oyster, yeah. It's not oyster, Ryder.
Okay.
Stir.
Once you've added your Sure-Gel, you'll just stir it and mix it all together.
I see the butter.
As it heats up, it'll start to melt.
And I see the stuff.
You're just going to bring this mixture to a boil, and once you get this mixture to a rolling boil, then you'll add your sugar.
How much sugar is in here? Half full of sugar. No, it's not half full. How much is it, Mom?
7 cups of sugar.
7?
And I just stir occasionally as it's coming to a boil. That way it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. So I figured I would show y'all what a rolling boil is. It's just a boil that does not break when stirred, and you'll see that it kind of rises up. So you'll just bring it to a boil, and this is the point where you'll add your sugar. So now that it's at the rolling boil stage, we're going to go ahead and add in our sugar. You'll get that stirred in. And once you get that stirred in, it should start to come back to the rolling boil. And at that stage is when you will set your timer for 1 minute. I think that this is the step that a lot of people mess up because they don't bring it back to the rolling boil. They just add their sugar and then set their timer for a minute. But you really need it to come back up to the rolling boil for a minute. So we're just still stirring until it comes back up to the rolling boil that can't be broken when stirred. We're at the halfway mark, and I just keep stirring through the whole thing. If not, you could overflow your pot. Like, you know how stuff starts boiling and then it just starts overflowing. So I just keep stirring, even though it's the rolling boil and I'm not breaking anything, just to keep it from boiling over the top, because a sticky jelly mess all over your stove is hard to get off. Okay, there's our timer. So I'm just gonna remove this from the heat. So this is what it looks like when you're done boiling, and this is the point where you would remove any foam, and I just used one of these that gathered on the top. Mine doesn't have a ton of foam. I think this is more air bubbles than foam, and so I'm actually just going to leave it because this is just for our family and I'm not trying to win an award with the prettiest jelly. So now it's time to fill our jars, and I have found that the easiest way to fill your jars is to use just a measuring spoon to dip it out. I have these giant, like 1.5 and 2 cup measuring spoons that I typically use. And so you will just fill each of your jars. And this is the messy part. And you'll be cleaning up sticky all over your counters. I already have my dishwasher cleaned out so that I can take all this sticky stuff and stick it directly into my dishwasher. I might have to go grab some more jars. I didn't think this would make more than this. A while ago, I told y'all to grab an old towel, and like when I went into my drawer to grab more towels, I'm like, what the heck am I saying? All of my towels are old, so they're all old and stained because I'm constantly canning something. I did do 2 more. They were just different, so I wasn't going to use them unless I had to. Last little bit. Oh, it's just splashed. I think I have enough to fill 1 more jar. Ellie, will you go to the back porch? There is a box by the freezer door that has, you can just set that right there on the floor. There's a box that has jelly jars that look like this.
Okay.
And go get me one.
Ones, but the big,
No, they look like this size.
Okay.
So once you've got all of your jelly in your jars, you're just going to want to take a little bit of vinegar. I'm using a Swedish dishcloth, but you can use paper towels. We just try not to use paper towels around here. And you're just going to want to wipe all of your rims. That way there's no sticky left around the rims and you get a nice good seal. I use ball lids. Last year I tried to switch to the Superb lids. And I was having a ton of fails, and I very rarely have fails with the ball canning lids. So I went back to using the ball lids. Then you'll just put all of your lids on.
I'm going to go around and put these on.
And then you can start doing that. And then all of your rings to fingertip height.
Gotta hold this. It's hot.
If you just want to hand them to me, I can do it. Here.
Yeah,
You just hand them to me since it's hot.
Very hot.
We may have to do these in 2 batches because I don't think they'll all fit in my
One thing.
water bath canner.
Ooh.
Hot.
You only have 2 more. Do we need more than 2?
No, that's it.
Just 1?
Yep.
Then we have an extra.
So once you've got all of your jars filled, you're just going to set them down in your water bath canner. You want to make sure that the water covers an inch over your jars. Once you get all of your jars in, you will set your timer for 10 minutes.
Do you think we're going to have to do 2 batches?
I can't really tell. I'm going to try and fit them all in there. I'm going to have to do 2 batches, so we'll just do this first batch and then come back and do a second batch. So now that our timer is going off, we're going to remove these. You'll let them sit on the counter for the next 24 hours and they'll begin to firm up like jelly, so don't be concerned that it's still pretty liquidy. After the 24 hours, we will remove the rings and check the lids. Any lids that did not seal, I'll just stick those straight into the fridge and we'll use those first. You can also try and re-water bath them if you want for 10 minutes because this is jelly, so you're not gonna like make it mushy or anything by processing it a second time if you want to try and get them to seal a second time. While I've got this giant pot of water boiling, I'm gonna go ahead and blanch some more squash to put into the freezer as well. It takes so long for my stove to get a pot of water going. I try and do as many things as I can while it's boiling. Pickles, squash. So I'm often doing multiple things when I'm processing. So I do small batches, but multiple things.